Past perfect continuous. To indicate that an action that began to be done or happened in the past and continue to be done or happened in the past then ended. Now see how to make sentences. You have to add subject first plus had been plus verb ing plus object. Now see the example. The discoverer had been studying for 3 hours before the exam started. Next one. The announcer had been waiting for the bus for 10 minutes before it arrived. Next example. The academician had been working on the project for months before it was completed. She had been feeling sick for days before she consulted a doctor. The anthropologist had been living in the house for 10 years before he moved. The housekeeper had been cleaning the house all morning before the guest arrived. The caterer had been cooking dinner when his phone rang. The astronomer had been arguing for hours before he reached an agreement. Example, the copywriter had been waiting at the station for an hour before the train came. The artificer had been painting the picture for weeks before it was finished. The craftsman had been working at the company for 5 years before he was promoted. The coordinator had been discussing the issue for hours before he made a decision. The comedian had been writing his novel for months before he showed it to anyone. The cameraman had been playing video games for hours before he took a break. The decorator had been knitting a sweater for weeks. The cowman had been feeling tired all day before he finally took a nap. My mother had been baking cookies before the oven stopped working. The ballet dancer had been dancing for hours before he finally took a break. My friend had been studying law before he decided to become a writer. The consumer had been searching for his wallet before he found it in his bag. The consultant had been explaining the concept for hours before they understood. The architect had been exploring the cave for hours before he found the exit. The carpenter had been fixing the roof for weeks before the rain came. The environmentalist had been planning the trip for months before he booked the tickets. The forester had been planting flowers in the garden before the storm arrived. The designer had been working in the park before he met an old friend. The draughtsman had been working overtime before he took a vacation. The mechanics had been driving for hours before he stopped for a coffee. The singer had been practicing the song before he performed on a stage. The composer had been playing the guitar for years before he joined the band. In next tutorial, I will bring you tenses in English grammar with meaningful lessons. Please subscribe my channel and hit the bell icons to get latest videos notification and share my video among your friends. See you in future video.